always lacked a stable identity, and that was always the reoccurring challenge I was always being faced in life. And if you're not comfortable enough to look back and understand your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions, then it can be difficult to identify what the source of some of your pain or some of your trauma is, or where it's actually coming from. This whole process for me is just about mapping out the key events in my life that have shaped the person that I am today. But to do that, I will take you right back to the very beginning. My parents came over from Nigeria in the 80s, about 88. They weren't here for too long before my mum's pregnant with my sister. And I think it was her 16 or 20-week scan. She's very shocked to find out that something else is growing in her womb, and lo and behold, here I am. My mum always calls me the miracle child because she never actually expected to have twins, and it was a real shock to her to find out that I was there. And even though I was late to the party and I had to be, stuck into an incubator for about 8 weeks, I survived and I was healthy, and my mum just always saw me as an extra blessing. So, yeah. So my name's Kenny, and in our culture, Kenny means second born of a twin. We grew up on the Crawford Estates in southeast London, me, my twin sister and my mum. My dad, I remember watching videos and looking at pictures and knowing that he lived with us at some point, but I had no memory of meeting him, and growing up, I didn't know where he really was. But my memories of childhood are all happy, really. I mean, we were poor, really, really poor, but because me and my sister had each other, we had each other for company, everything was always fun. I loved my estate, I loved going to school. We literally lived right across the road from Crawford Primary. So we would just walk ourselves, and we had quite a lot of independence from an early age because my mum trusted that me and my sister would look out for each other, and she had to work a lot. But I think it was around year 2 that social services got involved because someone had reported that my mum had been keeping us by herself. So the solution now was to put us with a nanny who lived in a place called Coulsdon in Surrey. So we were now spending long periods of time at 2 separate primary schools, one that was 99% black and one that was 99% white. I didn't think it was unusual at the time. Me and my sister just kind of went with it. But it was in year 3 that the biggest changes in my life started to happen. My mum got with my stepdad and we moved house. We moved from Camberwell to Forest Hill, Lewisham. We were starting a new school for the 3rd time. And I remember on my first day, my whole sense of my identity was just shaken. Firstly, we were starting off in separate classes, me and my twin sister. So we were being separated for the first time. And the teacher announces me to the class that we have a new student starting today. Please welcome Israel. And I remember just kind of being numb or feeling kind of paralyzed. Hold on, why are they calling me Israel? That's not my name, my name's Kenny. Israel is my real name on my passport, but up until this point, no one had ever addressed me or ever called me Israel before. Our school had a decent amount of black kids there, so I never felt isolated, or I never felt, out of place in that sense. But me and my sister were the only Africans. And we quickly learned in this environment that being from Nigeria wasn't cool. So we were doing everything we could to kind of, separate our identity or our culture from our new classmates. And I had to throw a few tantrums. And I remember one day the teacher pulled me to a side in the playground and she said, Israel, what's wrong? And I just remember screaming back at her that my name's not Israel, my name's Kenny. And yeah, that's all I actually needed to do. And then after that, everyone started calling me Kenny, and I had a great mix of friends, and I was really happy, really settled. We had friends that actually lived in houses and not in estates. So that was a whole new thing for me, playing around in someone's garden and stuff. It's small things, but my horizons were being widened in this environment, and I loved it. And then right at the start of year 6, we were moving again. this would be the last time we were going to move, my mum promised. And this was going to be a bigger house in a better neighbourhood. The year was 1999 and we've turned up in a place called Thamesmead. Now I've arrived in my new school in the middle of year 6 and I'm used to being a new kid. Bearing in mind, I've done this 4 times now. So I've turned up in the middle of the year and I knew the process. I was going to be nervous at the beginning. I was going to take me a while to settle in, but then I'd find friends and everything would be all right. But in this environment, it was different. Beforehand, I'd always been seen as a pleasant, happy, slightly mischievous child, you know. Very soon I realized that here I was being perceived as threatening and disruptive or aggressive. And it wasn't long after being there that I was just getting sent out of class regularly. So they decided that it's best just to move me out of the class. But because my sister was in the other class and they didn't want to disrupt her learning because she settled in, they decided it was going to be best to move me down into year 5. Nothing academically, just because of this personality clash with my teacher. It didn't last more than a few months of me being there before I was permanently excluded. What had happened is a parent had approached me in the playground and was all up in my face saying that I threatened their child, and I was, adamant that that wasn't what had happened, that the child was harassing me and I was reacting to them, teasing me in the playground or whatever, but she didn't like it. She went to the head teacher and somehow it's been reported that I've sworn at her, which was not the case. I hadn't at all. I didn't swear at adults, The next thing I know, I'm excluded from the playground and I had to spend all of my lunch times on the floor of the head teacher's office, pending investigations. But I was actually quite confident because I had people that were around who could, verify that I never used the words that she said that I used. So I hoped it was going to be fine. But by the end of the week, we got a letter to say that I was going to be permanently excluded, and that was that. But my mum and me as well had this real strong sense of injustice that I hadn't done what it was that they said I'd done, and I've been excluded for it, and I have to carry this around on my record, and she didn't want that for me. So we appealed the decision, and the appeals board decided that yes, I've been unfairly treated and I should be reinstated back into school. But this whole process took about a few months, and in the meantime, I'm in school number 5, a pupil referral unit. This is a place where they send children that have got behavioural or learning difficulties and things like that. And I preferred it, surprise, surprise, because I was only there 3 times a week. I would get picked up and dropped off. I didn't need to wear a uniform. The classes were smaller. Even though there was so much disruption happening, I actually felt like I learned better in the smaller environment. So I didn't really mind being there too much. And because everyone around could see that I wasn't causing any trouble, I was good. I wasn't one of these kids that was fighting with the teachers or had to be dragged out of class or anything like that. They just said, well, what, we might as well just keep him here. He's all right. And that's what they did. And but the best thing was the fact that I'd had the expulsion overturned, that we could have that removed from my record, that I could go into secondary school and have a fresh start, a new beginning. And I could actually start, the school year at the same time as everyone else. Secondary school, well, it didn't turn out quite as I imagined.